In this lesson, we're going to talk about the one-to-one interview. And really, when people think about interviewing, that's like the traditional interview, right? You come in for an interview, you sit down one-on-one with a person. Maybe it's a screening interviewer, or it's a human resource person, or it's a manager. And you're working one-to-one with somebody, and they're asking you questions, and you give them answers. Then at the end, you ask them questions back. So that's really the traditional interview. And when we get into the interview questions portion, they'll really tie into this. But other lessons, we're going to talk about like Skype interviews, panel interviews, group interviews, all these different types of interview formats. But just remember that the traditional one-to-one interview is really what is still used almost everywhere all around the world, and is used 90% of the time, maybe 85% of the time. So you want to be prepared for those one-to-one interviews. It's really you and that representative from the company. And so the keys for that is understanding that they're the same as far as one-to-one interviews are the same around, but they can also be different as far as with different interviewers. Different interviewers have different things they emphasize. Maybe it's a more structured interview, or it's an unstructured interview, which we'll learn about. Maybe they ask the same questions as everybody else. Maybe they like to go with the flow on it. So understand that every interviewer in those one-to-one situations is possibly very different. And then you need to be flexible and adjust accordingly and really communicate the main key things that you want to talk about, so you can really shine and really match up with the job description and match up with the fit of the organization. So whether it's a one-to-one with someone from human resources or a hiring manager, they can have a lot of variety, but either way, it's still the same concept. One-to-one, a person asking you questions and responding back. Lastly, on this part too, is you really want to listen carefully in all these one-to-one interviews you go through, because of the questions they ask are going to give you good indications of what's important to that organization. And so when you have future interviews with the organization, if it's a multiple interview situation, which most are, you'll be prepared better for those other interviews, because you've had these previous interviews where you've listened carefully and noted like, oh, this interviewer asked a lot of questions about teamwork, or this interviewer asked a lot about leadership, or this interviewer asked a lot about technical skills. You can start feeling what might be coming as far as with your future interviews and be prepared for them. So one-to-one interviews, that's what most people think about are interviews or general interviews or traditional interviews. Now let's learn about some maybe less traditional interviews that are more common than ever.